Well, welcome back to Modeling Time with me, Brian Banna. At the end of the last video, I said I was going to take a short break and get a couple of freight cars weathered that I've been meaning to get done. So I've finished those as well as a few other things and getting some stuff done in preparation for this video. So in the last video we had plastic surgery part 1, which was taking care of the doors on the long hood end of these 4 SD45s. In part 2, which will be this video, I'm going to talk about getting the noses fixed up so that they match the prototype or the prototypes that I'm modeling. I've already got 3 of them done, and I thought this process was going to be really difficult and I was procrastinating a little bit on it, but it went like clockwork. It really went well. I'm very surprised at the results, or that they turned out as well as they did. So I'm going to go over the steps needed to do this one. This will be the 4th one, and it'll finish off part 2 of plastic surgery. So what am I going to do here? Well, I'm going to take these three Canon parts, and I'm going to surgically implant them on the nose here. The goal is to retain the integrity of this shell so that it will assemble back into the or it will assemble the way that the manufacturer designed it. So it'll have all the strength in the nose here. It'll have the tabs, it'll have all the strength in the side. So basically it will be a scale trains hood, but I'll have Canon parts on this side, the other side, and the top of the nose implanted on this shell. So let me get the camera set up and we'll get right to it, and I'll show you what I need to do and go over the steps needed to make that happen. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm going to take these 3 Canon parts from their nose kit and I'm going to implant them on the scale trains model. And it's a good thing I have to do that, especially for this one, because when I was doing these hood doors, I dropped a blob of glue right on the side of the nose. So it's a good thing it's on a part that's going to be cut out. So anyways, so in order to do that, I need to be able to support the inside or this shell so that when I'm cutting, this nose doesn't flex and nothing around it flex. So I built myself a fixture. These are all the parts for the fixture, and they have their different uses. So this is the main part, and oh, real quick, I want to show you something here. I don't know if you can see it. Let me zoom in a little bit. This model was built with a nose that can be used for like an SD40 or something like that. Let me get the focus going. Do you see? Right there? That's a cutout for a minor brake pump or minor brake apparatus. So one side of this mold is made so that you can put a brake pump in there, and the other side, as you can see, is blanked out for this model. Just keep that in mind. So anyway, this is the inside part of the fixture. So these 2 cutouts are for the braces you see on the inside of the nose there. Let me see if you can get that in focus. I think he has a hard time focus. There we go. So you can see the braces on the inside of the nose there. So that's what these cutouts are for. This cutout is for when I finally have the Canon nose piece in there. It'll fit into that, so I can still put this inside of there. So this and these cutouts here on the sides are for these tabs here and here. So now, and this little brace right up on top here is to support this bridge on the back of the nose where the cab face will sit on top of. So this will fit nice and snug right up inside there. So now I can clamp it here, and the nose won't flex. If this fits in perfectly. Now you'll notice these sides are made perfectly even with the sides of the hood, like there and there. That's because when I clamp it, I don't want any interference with this tool. Now, how to hold it? See, so when I cut the sides out, how am I going to hold it? I don't want to clamp it on this because this is an angled surface. This nose, the top of the nose, you can't really see it there, but it starts up high and angles down. Well, to fix that, I took a Canon nose, flipped it upside down, and reversed it. That's the hole right there for the sand fill. And this now, this back here, back in here, you see all the little cutouts and everything. That'll fit around that shelf for the cab. And now that fits like that. And now because I reversed the Canon nose, the angle goes the other way, so now it's perpendicular to the bottom. So now I have a flat surface. So now I can set a parallel underneath this fixture here, and I can take the milling vise and I can clamp it tight this way. And because I made this all fit perfectly, when I clamp it, when I put pressure here, it's the inside of the nose is also on top of the fixture. So when I press it, it's not bowing this side or this side when I cut it. So I can clamp it good and firm, and then I don't have to hold it or press down on anything. I can just mill out what I need to mill. Now the nice thing is, these Canon nose pieces, they're 30 thousandths thick. The hood is considerably thicker, so I only need to cut in 30 thousandths. That's what allows me to retain the whole shell structure. And I can just lay in or laminate in to the cavity that I cut these pieces. Now, what's this piece for? This piece is what I'll do. Let me see if I can't get this back. Oh, there we go. So this piece is the same thickness as the bottom here. So I'll put that up against it like that. I'll take some thin liquid cement and I'll dab it on the back here. I'll put that up against there, and this now rests where it needs to be. The bottom of the side nose piece will rest on this little shelf, and I'll push the back up against this piece, and so now this Canon piece is exactly where I need it to be, and it's got glue on the back, so it'll stick there. So once that I let that set up, then I'll take a scribing tool and I'll scribe around. I'll scribe around this piece, and it'll give me the pattern of what I need to cut out. Now, what are these pieces for? These are, after I get the Canon pieces on here, I need to cut the top of the nose off. I need to cut the top of the nose off. But the Canon piece has details on it, so I've got little cutouts that'll go over the details on both sides. And then I can squeeze it in the vise this way, and I can cut the top of the nose off, this resting on parallels, so that everything is squared up in the mill. And the neat thing about it is, because I have these side pieces in, and they're at the right height, or they're sitting where they're supposed to be with the bottom of that piece, even with the bottom of the shell, I have now a reference surface to cut the nose off. So if I cut it down to the very top of this piece, then when I lay this nose in there, the top of this nose will be at the exact same height as the top of the scale train's nose. I know that because I've already done it. and it works out beautifully. Everything, the scale train's nose is basically a cannon nose in one piece, because when I put this all together, everything fits exactly lined up with the scale train's nose. So then what is this piece for? Well, this has a cavity in it right here for the brake apparatus. When I'm cutting this and I'm cutting down on this, I don't want this cavity. I need a solid surface there. So this is just a piece to fill that cavity there, so that when I am cutting this side and the mill is pushing or coming over that area, it's not pushing down, it's actually gliding across, it won't flex. The inside of the shell will not flex, so I can have a nice solid surface to cut on. And this little piece here is just a junk piece of 20,000s. It's pretty insignificant, but when I go to do the nose, I have to put the shell back a little bit further. When I go to glue the nose on, I have to put the shell back a little further. Well, this little piece goes underneath this shelf here, so that I can push down on it and hold it that way. And that way, this bridge, because I need to keep this bridge in here. This, you see the little slot in there? You see that slot and that bridge? I need to keep that bridge in place. It helps to line up the cab so the cab will sit right. So if I put that piece of 20,000ths in there and I push down on this to be snug up against the base, that bridge will now be, it won't bow in any, it'll be straight across, so when I glue it in there, it'll be straight. So that's what all the pieces of the fixture are. So let me get some tools out here and we'll go over getting this pattern put on the side here. Alright, so I've got the shell into the fixture, and I've loaded up 2 of my X-Acto knives with brand new blades. I need very, very sharp and pointy tips on them. And one thing I'm really good at, very proficient at, is stabbing myself. Because putting these blades on, I stabbed myself pretty good in the thumb. I got the blood to stop flowing, so everything's good. I've got cuts all over me. There's another cut right there from another blade, and I can't remember where else, but I've got lots of battle scars on my fingers from working on models. Alright, so the first step is I need to put this piece, or get this piece in place so that I can scribe it. So this little piece of foam I keep handy on my work area for when I have to put the model on the side. It's on a soft surface so I don't mar any of the details and stuff. So what we're going to do, we're going to take this, make sure there's nothing underneath it, wipe that off, put that right like that. It's going to be difficult to do. There we go. Let me move the light over here. Hopefully that'll be better. Okay, next, I'm going to put a puddle of glue. Now, I'm going to have to pick this up real quick when I put the puddle of glue on here to get it in place, but you'll see what it looks like once it's there. So, get a puddle of glue. This doesn't have much glue in it anymore, so shake the bottle up, get some glue on there. Put a puddle of glue on there. And now if I can get this on there before it dries up, let me just put that there, press it in place. Now what I need to do is get that down and back. So it needs to go up against this piece here, and flat down there. So I'm going to take my thumb, I'm going to push it against the back and down. I'm going to hold this top piece down really hard. I'm going to push it back and down. There we go. So now that bottom edge is sitting right on top of this. And this back edge here is pressed up against the fixture. So I'll just press it in place, give it a good bond, and check to make sure everything is where it's at. I have to take this off screen real quick. Oh no, I don't. I'll just do it right here. Press down, in, back, and down. There we go. All right. So now that is taken care of. So you can see right there, I got my cannon part where it is supposed to be. And you'll notice, this is kind of interesting too, this bottom edge right here is exactly lined up with this bottom edge of where the cab floor is. Interesting, huh? Cool. All right. Next thing I need to do now is scribe this. So I'm going to let this sit a second and I'll come back and we'll do some scribing. I need to let the glue set up so that while I'm scribing it, it doesn't want to move or adjust itself or go askew or anything like that. So let's just let that rest. Let the glue cure a little bit and I'll be right back. All right, I forgot that I had these scribing tools. Sometimes I amaze myself. I get these tools and I forget that I have them. So I've got options for scribing. I also have this scribing tool, but this one's too wide, but it's great for hogging out plastic when you just need to do the snap and break or bend and snap method of cutting styrene. This one's great. This one is a GSI Krios. It's a good tool. It's got different size tips for it and such, but I won't be using it on this one. I've also got these ones by Holly. Let me see this. It's the Shimomura Alec Company Limited, Holly. So there, I bought the set of 3, and actually these are excellent. They are really, really good. Many times I use a sharp number 11 blade. The problem with using one of these is if you press too hard, you have a good chance of breaking that tip off and then you can't use it again. So I'm going to use this 0.1 millimeter Holly scriber. This one's a 0.15 millimeter and this is a 0.2 millimeter. So let me put those aside, the 2 and the 0.15. I did a test, and scribing with the tip of the X-Acto knife is nearly as thin as scribing with the tip of this 0.1 millimeter Holly scriber. Also, this Holly scriber is very sharp on the tip and it does not wander. It goes straight down the side. So I'm not going to use the knife on this one. I did on the other 3. I used a knife, but I forgot I had these. Like I said, sometimes I amaze myself. So I'm going to put these aside. We're going to get this zoomed in. I don't know if we can... Oh, a little too much there. All right. So you just hold it like that. And we'll do this front one because we can see that one. So I just put it right up against the edge. It's a little bit of pressure against the edge and I just drag it down. Do that again. Do that again. And do that again. And now I have a really fine scribed line along there. Now, the other issue with using an X-Acto knife that I don't have with using the Holly scriber is if I use the X-Acto knife and I angle or accidentally angle this back edge towards the template, it'll start scribing off the edge of the template, and you don't want that, because this is the part that's going to be used. So with the Holly scriber, it is ground to a sharp point so that the edge that's guiding along your template, this back edge isn't making contact. So you can just scribe away without cutting your template. So I'm going to go ahead and get this edge scribed, I'll get this edge scribed, and this edge scribed, and I'll show you what the results look like. I've got all of the lines scribed now. Now we just need to snap this template off. Just a second. There we go. This plastic that Scale Trains uses is not liquid cement friendly. So that's why you can use liquid cement to glue to the side, and it won't stay permanently. You can just, basically you're tacking it and it'll snap off. So now I've got the scribe lines in. So you can see that's where I need to cut to. Now another trick that I use so that I'll see that when I cut it, just a second. I use toothbrushes, see how dirty this one is, to clean off my work surface on my mill. And sometimes I use oil when I'm cutting metal, and the brushes get a little dirty. Now there's not a lot of oil in here, if any at all anymore. It's just dirty. So what I'll do is I'll scrub that into the scribe marks. See how prominent the scribe marks look now? They got a nice dirt-filled area in there. Now I can see that really, really well when I put it in the mill. So within the mill, like I said, I'll put this top on. I'll put a parallel underneath here, and the milling vise will clamp this way. So I'm going to go ahead and get that cut. I have to go down 30 thousandths, and we'll come back and see how well that piece fits in there. All right. Well, I've got the cavity cut. Now I'm using a 42 thousandths milling bit, so it's going to leave a very, very small radius in these inside corners. So I've already cleaned them out. Whoop, sorry, too close. There we go. But what I use is a small chisel blade like this. And I just go into the corners and just square them up, making sure I stay straight with the cut lines and square them up. So this isn't going to fit fully because, as you'll notice, I still have this back edge, which I'm going to keep because it gives support to the bridge for the nose. But I'll take care of that in a minute. But you'll see that fits nicely in there, and it presses down in. Now I'll mark the back edge of this, and I'll trim it so it all fits in perfectly. So let me go ahead and do that. We'll get it to fit perfectly, and you'll see the results. All right, so you know that I have the cavity here. I've squared up all the corners. I've trimmed this back edge of the side of the nose that goes up against the cab. Now let's see how it fits. And there it is. Now, the important part is that this leg sits up against the bottom of this fixture, and it does, which will put this bottom piece at the right position and the top at the right position. Now if you look real closely, I don't know if you can see it, there's less than a 5/1000th gap to the top. But on this model, I don't care about that gap on the top because the nose is going to be taken off. The top of this piece is the reference for where the new nose will sit on. So I don't need to fill that. I'll fill this, this, and this with CA. Now like I said, this is not liquid cement, plastic cement friendly plastic. It would be if you used gobs of that glue, it would melt it. But for what we need to glue this in with, it wouldn't work at all. It'll just come right out. So I'm going to use CA. I'm going to, I'm going to put blobs of CA, medium CA, back here, and I will stick this down to it, and it'll be all CA'd in just fine. Then I'll go over and I'll put a light bead of thin CA on these joints. On these joints. Let it set up, come back and scrape the mound of CA off, and then sand it smooth, and it'll look just fine. So I'll go ahead and get that in and put the CA on. Alright, well, I've got it, the side set in. You can see the CA around the joint edges. Now I did put CA along the top. I don't need to do that necessarily to fill the gap, but I wanted the thin CA to go in behind the side panel and seal that top portion up, so that when I cut the nose off, this top is sealed, or that joint is sealed. So I'm going to let that cure for a while, and in the meantime I'll go ahead and do this side. So when I get done with this side, I'll do the same thing as I'll fill the joints with thin CA and all that, and I'll get it all sanded. I'll get this side all sanded, and then we'll attack the top. So I'll go ahead and get this one done and show you the results of what it looks like after it's all sanded, and then we'll do the top. Alright, just a quick note here. When I'm putting these, like this top on, I have to take the details off so that everything sits flat. Same goes for this side. I have to remove all the this side, have to remove all the details that stick up off the surface. And I can't use this piece as a template because you see it has the break inset. But the blank piece that comes in the Canon & Company nose kit, this leg is the same width as the break inset part. And this is hard doing this at an angle like this. So I can use this blank piece as a template, and I can set it in there and glue it in place just like I did the other side. So I'll go ahead and get that done. I'll scribe it the same way, cut it the same way, come back and I'll show you the cutout, because you'll see that there's the opening that's on the inside of this shell for the brake apparatus recess. Magically, perfectly fits this back piece, so I don't have to do any cutting for that. So let me get all that done. We'll see how it looks. The sides are done now, so you can see here's the right side. It's all filled and sanded, and here's the left side. Same thing, filled and sanded. The next thing to do, and the last thing to do, is to get the top of the nose on. So that's a very easy step. As I mentioned earlier, I can use the top edge of the, I'll get this in the middle here. I can use the top edge of the Canon nose side pieces on both sides and just cut the nose off. I'm going to keep this bridge in the back. Like I said, I need it. I want to keep it for the strength of the nose and to be part of the scale or to keep the scale trains part in there so that the cab has the right area to sit down on. I'll have to trim this nose piece back a little bit to fit in there, but that's okay. And when that's all done, I'll sand all that smooth in the back and get the side. So I'm going to go put this in the vise. I don't need this top piece, of course. This is where my little side pieces come in. So this one will go on the right side. Find the little, there we go. So it'll go like that, and then this piece will go on the other side, and I'll be able to use the vise and squeeze it right here. Parallels will go underneath here, and this will be in the vise perfectly. And I just take the mill and cut around the edges. I don't have to cut the middle. All I have to do is cut the edges right to the back of that bridge, and this whole nose piece will come off, and I can put the cannon piece on. So let me go ahead and get this cut, and I'll bring it back and show you what it looks like. Well, I'm back with the final cut done. You can see the top of the nose is cut off. So let me pull this out and forward a little bit. So I'll have to trim about 15 thousandths off the back edge here, and that'll fit nicely there. I've got the same amount of this simulated weld bead sticking up over the top of the hood, but I'm going to be shaving that off once it's all glued together. So I'll go put this in the mill, cut about 15 thousandths, well actually 15 thousandths off of here, and that will allow it to fit down nicely with the point right at the point of the scale train's nose. So there we have it. The nose is all done. I got the top of the nose on. It's been put thin CA around the joint. It's all sanded, and it's done. So zoom back there. So I've got 3 units with the nose brake and 1 without. They're all done the same. So that takes care of plastic surgery part 2, getting the noses all put together for the prototypes that I'll be modeling. So moving on, in the next video will be plastic surgery part 3, which will be really easy, and that's just taking these fans off to get them ready to put cannon fans on. So that'll be an easy task to do, but I'll go over it. I have to probably make a tool to open up the fan holes properly and things like that. So I hope you enjoyed that and found that entertaining. We'll get to the next one shortly. I have to take a break for a little bit. I have a storm drainage problem I have to take care of in the backyard, so I got to get that done before I can get back to the bench and stuff like that. But as soon as I can, I'll get back to plastic surgery part 3. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that.